This is WFYI News Now. It's April 23rd, and I'm Zach Bundy, filling in for Abriana Herron. On today's show, André Carson holds his second immigration empowerment session for Central Indiana residents. An Indiana high school brings home a World Championship award in robotics. And when Indiana lawmakers tried to speed up mental health evaluations in jails, they hoped to fix a broken system. But for people like Kevin Mock, the delays and the consequences haven't gone away.
Nobody cares. They don't want to deal with it. It's not their child. They don't care.
Those stories coming up, but first. Indiana Governor Mike Braun has signed a bill into law that will take millions of dollars of funding away from local school districts. From WFYI's education desk, Sydney Daudelin has more on how it might impact Indianapolis public schools.
Public schools will be receiving less money from the state and sharing more of it with charter schools. IPS Superintendent Alicia Johnson sent out a message Monday reminding families that the changes won't take effect until 2028 and will roll out incrementally. The district has stated multiple times that the funding model under this bill will financially devastate the district and force them to close more than 20 schools. The state's Legislative Services Agency predicts IPS could lose nearly $96 million by 2032 as funds are divided with charter schools. I'm Sydney Daudelin.
U.S. Congressman André Carson hosted a second immigration empowerment session for Central Indiana residents last week. As WFYI's Samantha Horton reports, the congressman addressed the current political climate.
Over the past year, the Trump administration has suspended refugee resettlement programs, ended humanitarian parole for Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelans, and canceled temporary protection status for thousands of people. These actions are currently being challenged in court. Local lawyers, bankers, and public service providers walked session attendees through things they might now need to consider. Representative Carson told participants he understands that many families are scared.
The immigrant community has been unfairly demonized, but I understand that immigrants are the very foundation of this great country. Immigrants are what make our country great.
Carson says he is working to combat the administration's immigration policies through legislation. I'm Samantha Horton.
A Tippecanoe High School brings home a World Championship award in robotics. The McCutcheon High School's robotics team, Maverick Robotics, won the championship title at the first robotics competition in Houston over the weekend. Battling against student robotics teams from around the world, the team triumphed in the Alliance division of the contest. The first robotics competition is a youth tournament where a team of high schoolers build and program a robot in 6 weeks to participate in different contests. Over 600 teams globally attended the competition this year. The Tippecanoe community welcomed the world champions home on Monday evening. And for our final story today, a process that's meant to evaluate whether someone is competent to stand trial may get some people with severe mental illness stuck in jail for months. That's before they're even found guilty. Side Effects Public Media's investigative journalist Farah Anderson reports on one man's journey to navigate the system in Indiana.
It's a sunny afternoon in November 2024. Pam Grillo and her husband Robert stand inside the Johnson County Courthouse in Franklin, Indiana.
Forever. I need to find him a home.
Safe.
Yes.
Well,
Her 43-year-old son Kevin Mock isn't there, but the hearing is about him. Kevin has both schizophrenia and autism, and he's charged with assaulting an officer. At the 2 earlier hearings, Kevin couldn't sit still or remember his name. The judge ordered a competency evaluation to assess whether he understands his charges and can assist in his defense. But the judge warned that evaluation could take months, and Pam's not hopeful.
Well, his situation's never going to be fixed.
Yeah.
So.
Kevin's public defender, Drew Eggers, agrees.
And the court system just isn't set up that way. If it was
A side effects investigation found that in 2024, people in Indiana jails waited an average of just over 2 months to get 2 court-ordered mental health evaluations done, down from over 7 months in 2018. That's partly due to a 2023 state law that allows nurses and physician assistants, not just psychiatrists, to evaluate people with low-level charges. Indiana's made the process faster, but it didn't fix other problems, like inconsistent data tracking across counties. That makes it hard to spot disparities in wait times for evaluations and outcomes. And those weeks and months in jail still take a toll on people with mental illness, says Dr. Bob Tressman, a national expert in correctional psychiatry.
Helping people to recover is harder. If you're in an environment that by design encourages paranoia.
Once the evaluations are done, there are two outcomes. If someone is found competent, the case moves forward. If not, they're sent to a psychiatric facility for treatment until they're deemed competent to stand trial. But Tressman says restoring competency isn't the same as getting better, and the longer someone goes without treatment, the harder it is to stabilize them.
The brain isn't a simple mechanism, and recovering back to a previous level of functioning is generally harder after someone has been off of medication for an extended period of time.
Kevin waited nearly 3 months in jail to get the evaluations done. Pam says he didn't receive his medication and she could barely recognize him.
Nobody cares. They don't want to deal with it. It's not their child. They don't care.
Side Effects reached out to the jail. They said they can't force any medication without a court order. Kevin was eventually found incompetent and transferred to a psychiatric facility in Indianapolis. Pam went to visit.
And I thought, surely to God, by now, the medication set in and he's going to be at least able to have a conversation with me. He looked horrible. And he was totally psychotic. Spitting on walls, spitting on the floor, spitting on the table.
Pam and her husband Robert hope Kevin will be committed to a long-term psychiatric facility, but they fear he'll eventually be released, only to end up back at square one. It's a situation all too familiar to Judge Amy Jones, who handles mental health cases in Marion County. She says many people with serious mental illness may fall into this gap.
They cannot consistently maintain on their own, but they don't meet the standard to have a civil commitment.
Jones says she frequently sees people cycle through the system, but the state isn't tracking how often it happens. Pam believes the process isn't about helping Kevin.
All we've got to do is get him competent enough to be able to say in court, yes, I understand what I'm being charged with. That's it. That's what all this is about.
Pam says it's just about moving Kevin along, not getting him the care he needs to live with his mental illness. I'm Farrah Anderson, Side Effects Public Media.
Side Effects Public Media is a health reporting collaboration of NPR member stations across the Midwest based here at WFYI. That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin, Abriana Herron, and me, Zach Bundy, with support from the news teams at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music. If you liked today's episode, remember to subscribe and share. And follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow.